Um, I would like to tackle the end of this Mishnah. We're in Zion base. That's where we're up to. And the subject which I'm going to broach over here today is a subject that really, I think in this year is well worn. We discussed Tudat Zahuts. People, things lose at Tudat Zahuts. Like, many times you guys can probably give a share on that subject yourself. What is orange juice? Why do you make a shackle on it? Why isn't it the fruit? Because it's just not, doesn't have that chashivas. Because we know where it came from. It's not like a surprise where it came from. And we spent time already in the past proving that there's kfor, glid, sheleg, all different kinds of waters, and each one has its own, you want to call it chiddush, if you can or can't use it as may mikvah. Now, these are already concepts that to us are understandable. I don't know if that's the word, understandable. We know how to use them. Already we're comfortable with them. Neiperos are not water. In other words, I have apple juice, it's not water. Why isn't it water? Because it's just not. No, when we say it's Zeya Ba'alma doesn't turn it into water. Zeya Ba'alma means that it's something that doesn't have a source. It doesn't have the Tudat Zahut of the fruit that it came from, but it's not water. It's somewhere else. And that's why it's possible for a mikvah. Because it's not water. It's not colored water. In other words, a person would put food coloring into water and change its color. It would be puzzle water because of a shinimara. This is not puzzle water because of a shinimara. It's not water. It's also not yain. It's not dvash. It's not shemen. And the Taisus Yantif points out that even though the bracha is a shakol, it's not water. No, there's certain things as in the water, certain things it doesn't. And I'm going to leave it at there right now. We're going to come back to it.
For it to be water, that's to start with water and be a majority of water.
What is it? I'm missing
whatever the question.
To make a mikvah, you need a mikvah to be water, and therefore, if you have it made out of sheleg, you have it made out of steam, we have it made out of things which were never water. According to some, even if they were water, they changed out of their form, then they are not considered water anymore. And that's a important subject, and we discussed this already, I think, in the last year. This has to do with condensation, if you could use a condensation to make a mikveh or not. And there are poskim who say one is not allowed to, even though that we know that really condensation and rain are really the same thing. I'll just tell you, there are certain halachas that I find difficult to accept, that are accepted by the Gedolei HaPoskim of our generation. And this time around, in learning Mikvaos, I became a little bit more agreeable. Shlomo Zalman, Rabbi Yashiv, this is a very negay question. People in Ramat Beit Shemesh have air conditioners, and those air conditioners have a drain because there's condensation on the unit. No, it's just an inside drain and an outside drain. There are actually two of them. And many times gets clogged up, and a person has to put a bucket there to collect the condensation from the unit. I'm sure you people know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. So they all say that that water is muksa because it came from nowhere. Now, you and I know that it didn't come from nowhere. Not only that, we also know it came from the exact same place as rain. And the Gemara says, even if yesterday was a clear day and today it rained, we say that that water was in the clouds. It was there the whole time. So I say, or I said, I'm not sure which way to express my opinion that I'm representing. If water from rain is called, it's there because it's in the air, this too should be considered there because it's in the air. And there's an issue that I had, and therefore I felt that it's hard to say that it's really muksa. Nothing happened.
It wasn't there before Shabbos.
Neither was the clouds. Right? You had a clear day, and then all of a sudden they have overcast and a rain. We say that water is not muksa. Where'd it come from? It doesn't come from nowhere, right? We know that there's an eco cycle of the water. There's no, but it's not that Chazal didn't know that. Chazal knew that too. That's what's maddening over here is that there's nothing here that we are wiser than them. I'll just I'll quote to you something that I discussed with Zal Nechemia Goldberg many years ago. He was a person which I don't think any of you knew him. I knew him rather well. I spent probably hundreds of hours with him. He was a person who was extremely practical and disliked saying lumdus if you didn't have to. It was very, said, why can't you just read the Taz? That's what I remember Taz telling me. So I said, okay, so you read it to me. And that's basically where it stopped because it was one of the difficult Tazim. Anyways, but Lo Mishana, he asked me the following question. If I take a person, if somebody would take a person and hold him underwater and not let him breathe, he would be charged with murder. Right? Do we all agree to that? Even halachically he would, according to many poskim. I take a person and I lock him in a room and he dies, he's not charged with murder. So he asked me, what's the difference? What's the difference whether I'm taking away from him the basic body need of oxygen or I'm taking away a body need of nutrition? It's the exact same thing. Why in one case do we understand that he's chayiv, in the other case we understand that he's pater? Anybody want to answer that question?
It wants to be a dime. One's more of a direct.
All right.
Cause.
If I put him on,
There's no way to say that he wouldn't get food otherwise in a room somehow.
Okay. Well, let's say I put him on lead shoes, right? And, right. So I'll tell you his answer.
Same cause.
His answer to the question is, he said, because when you see, you killed him, and when you don't.
Which is which?
What?
Which is which?
I'm not even going to bother answering that. Okay. Are you serious in the question? Mr. Fialco, are you serious?
I was, but I'm not anymore with that answer. I'm embarrassed.
Okay, no, well, I think that when you put the person in a room and lock the door, so it's a removed happening. It takes a day, 2 days, 3 days, so we don't see your action directly involved. And when somebody forces somebody underwater and holds its head there, so we see the struggle, so to speak, and we understand that he's a Retzeach.
So that's a time element, how long it takes you to kill someone?
Perception.
And if you're a blind man and you can't see, then it's not deaf?
No, it doesn't make a difference. Others can see for you. This way it's perceived. One is perceived as a act, and the other one is perceived as a groma.
Even though by a korban, you're supposed to let out an animal into the something and let him die if he has a
Exactly, and
mum.
that's called the groma. It's exactly. That's not ira.
Even though, but you know what's going to happen. I mean, that's
exactly
the purpose.
That's the question. What's the difference? What's the difference? Both you know exactly what the outcome is going to be, and one just because it's going to take a little longer than the other. Well, we're not stupid. So the answer is, but one you see, and one you just know. You know, it's a long process. So in the human eye, we don't see it; we only know it. It was a fascinating idea, but it's like extremely simple. No, he didn't say anything. He just said it has nothing to do with what we know. It has to do with how we perceive. And in truth, many halachas in the Torah are really like that. It doesn't have to do with what we know. It has to do with perceive. And for 20 years, I'm thinking about this idea of his, and it works in many places. I'm still uncomfortable with it. Well, I'll just mention that as a moil, one of the places where I differ from my father, Arini Kaparas Mishkova, is in checking a baby for yellow. My father, Arini Mishkova, is more machmer than me and more makel than me. In other words, for the baby to be yellow, it has to be yellower than I rule. But if the baby's yellow, he makes weight a week. And one time discussing this, he says, who has to do the explaining? In Shulchan Aruch, the Gemara, it says like me, not like you. Now, I mean, the truth of the matter is that nowadays people use a blood test to see the bilirubin count in the baby. So my father, not that he never does it, he said, do you think that the Torah was given to scientists? The Torah was given to regular, ordinary people, that they should be able to function with the utensils that are readily available. Chazal did not demand, the Torah did not demand that people make blood tests. In other words, obviously, if you'll have the idea of the blood test, then one is, just use an example of this, where this is a fascinating question. Yechiel Kahn Franco is a Kohen. Ari Wallman isn't here today, so he is our resident Kohen. And he has a wife, or his kid has a wife that's pregnant and wants to go into the hospital. So the halacha is you're allowed to go into the hospital. Why? Because it's a sveika. Maybe it's a boy, maybe it's a girl. And even if it's a boy, maybe it's a nafel. That's the halacha. Okay. What about nowadays? We could go and take an ultrasound and we will know the truth. You ever had this question?
No.
Okay, I guess you never had a baby. Anyways, that was a joke. That wasn't. Anyways,
I was trying to remember if I even thought of that as an issue.
yeah.
Recall.
But I don't know if maybe it wasn't an issue. Your wife wasn't going to the hospital in those days or something either. It's not like, Mechatesi should be going to the hospital. But anyway, this is an issue. And there are some poskim who say, even if you went to the hospital and they told you that it's a boy, you're still allowed to go. But that's based on that there are many times that there are tests that are bogus. But the bottom line is nobody says that a person should try to do it. And this is not relevant even in, it's relevant for B'dika Stam, it's relevant for Ribua, it's relevant for many things. But we use the Torah's Kalim. Sometimes we can enhance that and use other things also, but the halachic guideline is not that. I'll just use one more example, which is fascinating. The Magen Avraham in Hilchos Stam says that though the halacha is that if there's a hole in the cloth, then the parsha is pasul, but it says if you can only see the hole, if you hold it up to the sun, then that's not called a hole. No, that's clearly, we know that there's a hole there, but it's small enough that we're not mityaches. Why? Because it's not accessible easily. So this is a kind of a thought which there's a lot of support because it's kind of a thought. Anyway,
Why does the Rav use a magnifying glass by the esrog?
I would like to argue with you and say it's not true. If you will watch me, and you will see that I look at the esrog without a magnifying glass. When I have some kind of a suffix, I use it to be makel.
Rav doesn't start with using the.
Nope.
No?
Nope. If I would, I'd never get finished.
But why even use that? It should be just, they didn't have that 1,000 years ago.
No, I understand, because what happens is that I see that this happens with Maris. I have this every single day. There's a red dot, and I already know. I said that that's a thread, but I can't rely on it until I look at it with a magnifying glass. Now, Rav Wosner writes, and this is a machlokes Rav Wosner and the Chazon Ish, if you see a black dot and you're not sure if it's a bug or not, you have to be machmer. Stam black dot on your vegetable, that's a vegetable that's muchzik b'taloim. I have to be machmer, or do I have to see the legs? Rav Wosner says you're not muchzik to be machmer, and the Chazon Ish seems to say that you are. Very difficult paragraph in the Chazon Ish, but it seems to say that you do have to. So the answer to the question is that I really don't use it. I only use it l'kula, so to speak. I don't use it l'chumra. And even that is not so clear that that's permissible to use it l'kula. Some say it doesn't exist, so you can't be making with it either. But the bottom line, we know that the rain and the condensation are the same thing, but we don't see them as the same. We see the rain as a natural phenomenon, and frost on your windows is weird. And therefore we say it just appeared.
Even though this is not our topic, but the Rav mentioned that he had a machlokas with his father regarding the bilirubin count.
Yeah.
And so in the blood test usage, so if I understood correctly, he's saying, why are you doing this? But if it's already done, then now you have the information, so now you got to act on it.
The answer is yes, but this is not a shir in Hilchos Mila. But at what point is it a problem? I'll just tell you, I had a discussion with a very famous pediatrician once. The medical community is, unless you make a blood transfusion, they're not concerned with it at all. They're not concerned. And I was speaking to this from a doctor. It was a very big doctor, and he was scoffing at the rabbonim that are mekel, a machmer. They said there's no source to this. You guys are just up a creek without a paddle. So I asked him, I said, have you watched babies that have bilirubin? She says, yes. I said, tell me, do they nurse as well as ones that don't? She said, no, actually, they don't nurse. Their problem is usually eating. So I said, why is that? She said, I don't know. So I told him, I know. So he looks at me, that's what he wasn't expecting that. I said, do you eat when you're sick? If they're not eating, that's a symptom that they're not feeling well, right? So how could you go and say that there's nothing wrong with them? Now, I don't know, and I can't say I was never a baby, but I was, but I don't remember. I really can't. I have no clue, and I don't know that I was yellow either, so I'm not in the position to discuss the thing. But it makes sense to me. He acknowledged that they don't take in food at the same rate as a healthy baby. To me, that sounds like there's grounds to say that there's something wrong with the kid. I didn't say to what degree, but that's something. He was actually flabbergasted at that, my assault. Anyways, so water and not other things. I will shar mashkim, may Paris, Vatsir, Amorsis, all these things. Pam Malim, Chen Malim, Ketzad, Mikva Shiesh Bar Boim Sa, Chasar Achas. It has 39. The Nafal Ataycha is Mehem. Why? Because it's not water. Very simple. So even though you're not going to have 40 saw of rainwater, it's still kosher. So we're saying that this artificial waters can be mashlim the minyan, the mikveh. Now this is an issue, and I'm going to just say it over very straight. The Rishonim that ask, how could it be mashlim a mikveh? Mikveh has to be 40 saw rainwater. How does it become rainwater? Anybody want to answer that question?
I think we brought this up last time when we talked about bittul.
Yeah. And what did we say?
I think we said that the May Paris is no longer tangible. Yeah, you cannot tell that there's May Paris over here. It lost its consistency. So what you're seeing is water.
Well, okay, but I'd like to get there maybe today, but if I have non-kosher milk that fell into kosher milk, how much do I need to be mevatel in? Shishim. Why should this not need shishim? Or maybe the question should be, why does the milk need shishim? Who's the muksik, who's the moitzi? Which question is the question? Parrots, what did we do to you?
Huh? When it falls in and you have 41 saw in there, what do you have?
40 saw water, 1 saw apple juice.
Is that what you have?
I thought so. You sound like a Jew. I don't understand. You asked your question, I gave you an answer, and now you're asking me, is it true what I said? I thought so. That's why I answered it. What do you think?
I think you have 41 saw of water.
I hate to be a parrot. Is that true?
For all practical purposes, with a mikveh, yeah.
So, what's with the mikveh?
Oh, why are you comparing it to milk?
I just want to know because I have a dog over here who's allergic to apple juice. I want to know if I can give it to him.
So he shouldn't be told on the mikveh. I don't know.
Can wear a kippah. Anyways, right?
We're not talking about allergies. We're talking about a mikvah.
So why should it be good for mikvah? I'm not arguing with you. I just have no clue what you're talking about. Is it water?
It now has become, as far as the mikvah is concerned, it's become water.
Why is that?
Because
There'll be other things we won't say that.
like, what do you mean like other things? You mean not mikvah or other things? Like,
Not mikvah.
other things have different parameters. What makes them possible?
You know what, parents? Let me ask you a question.
Do you
I'm
taste the
going to
mikvah?
play.
Do you
One
taste
second,
the
before you,
mikvah?
I want to try to put your foot off. I'm going to try. I did this. I put in a saw of apple juice to 40 saw, and then I took a saw of water. Then I put in another saw of apple juice and took out another saw. How many times could I do this until the apple juice is still water and the apple juice is not water?
I guess 40 times.
Why not 100 times? I get to 40 times. What's 40?
Why? I guess then a consistency physically becomes apple juice. Let me ask this question. When something falls in the mikvah, can you taste it to tell if the mikvah is puzzle?
I don't think so.
So it's different than
Yontif
kashrus.
says.
That's different than
Yontif
kashrus then.
What?
If the milk, if something falls in for kashrus, you taste it. No, the 60 is only because we don't know how to taste it. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. Yeah. So what should be the criteria?
It's not going by taste. It's obviously not going by taste. It's going by something else.
So what is it going by?
So it's going by. It turns it into water until physically it's rove something else. Then it can't be considered water.
Why?
Well, deraisa, it can't be batel deraisa anymore. Maybe.
Why?
What? Why? Because now it's rove. Now it's rove something else, or it's not rove water.
Okay. Okay. I will, so to speak, leave it. What am I saying? I'll leave it means to say that there is definitely possibility of such a thing, but it needs an explanation. As far as I'm concerned, if you say that the meper is turned into water, it should stay as water the whole time.
So let's say that it does.
Oh, that's fine. I'm willing to have that conversation too. But parrots, for some reason, understands that when it tastes like apple juice, it's hard to say it's water.
Because you said a few weeks ago you could do this trick with the bittel up to a certain point.
That's true. It wasn't me. It's the Rambam. It's Shulchan Aruch. I mean,
But you were the one that was sitting there and said it. That's why he repeated it.
Yes, I understand.
It's a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah that says it.
Well, it's not clear.
We've had the Mishnah already.
This is the Mishnah we're learning, right?
No, we had a Mishnah about that. If water comes in until it becomes rove of the other water, it's
No. That was by shuvim.
Okay.
You actually have shuvim, and then you have to take out that amount of shuvim, or it has to be flushed that amount. Sometimes like it fell in, or sometimes all the water that was in the mikveh, in order for us to see that shuvim is not there anymore. But that's excuse my expression, that's a philosophical halacha. In other words, there you're doing something not because in reality that's what happened. If enough came in that it's like whatever came in was taken out, so then we perceive it as it's not shuvim anymore, and that's a different drabanan dikadin that you shouldn't be considered that you have shuvim.
But midaraisa, there's no limit. You could do it forever. Yes?
According to many places, yeah. Now,
with shuvim, you mean?
It could be with this too.
Apple juice, you can do it forever, yeah.
Could be. Could be. According to some Rishonim, you could, and it's the reason why. And this is Machlekes Rishonim. Some Rishonim say you say kama bato, and they say how can you say kama bato? And I was just saying, there's a Dobrovarsky asked the question that we said that Bittul doesn't give you properties. Bittul only takes away Chesroinus, which we discussed. So there are those who want to say from here that maybe we say otherwise, and they'll say that Mei Peiros is really puzzle water. It's not something different. In other words, it's much easier for us to understand that She'uvim, you could say Noble Savanos and so, because anyways it's water, and just like we learned with Ashaka, once it's touched, it becomes revitalized. So here too, we could say that She'uvim, if you're Noble Savanos and so, it became back into being kosher water, and then you can take it out afterwards, and there's not a problem. That's two of the possibilities that there are over here.
Make a difference if you call it Mei Peiros or Zeya Ba'alma?
I don't think so. As of right now, I don't think so. Maybe you can convince me otherwise, but as of right now,
Mei Peiros has in it a kinoi of May.
yeah.
So it has May, excuse me if using the word Mayin, but it has Mayin Mayim in it. But Zeya Ba'alma does not.
I don't think Mei Peiros means that it's Mayim. I don't think it just means that it's a liquid. This is how you say, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, but we just said that this one, Dobrovarsky says this idea, which is I stumbled onto this myself, that being that, and Taisus Yantiv really points in this direction, that being that it's water-like, so it's easier converted into water. It's not like wine that has a strong shem la'atzmai character. So here it's able to jump the fence, if you want to use that terminology. It can go from the opposition to the coalition. Yeah, you're with us? Yechiel, you're here?
Yeah. I was fine with that. I was addressing what Sheffer had said, but I'm not sure. I'm saying the name Mei Peiros doesn't make it more mime-like. I don't know if that's what the word
No, but it's an adjective which is descriptive. In other words, it is more Mei Peiros like. All right. No, I would just like to, I don't know, maybe we'll go weiter. But this halacha of Nosus Hava Nosun Sa is a very serious issue, because the mikvahs sometimes, and I was having this week, I was in a mikvah and the water did not cover the whole hole, so you could have a problem with Nosus Hava Nosun Sa. This happens often, and when they clean the mikvah, fill it up, we have this problem quite often. So halacha l'maisa, there are many poskim which are mekel, and there are many places that are machar. We'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get too involved.
What does it mean? It didn't cover the hole, so you have a problem of nasabana?
No, it's worse. It's worse because it's not mechuber even.
Yeah, you mean it's not connected to the bore, so it's
yeah. So according to some, it loses its status. It loses its status. It's worse because it loses its status of being kosher water.
What's the nasan benatal here?
It went into the oitzer and then back out.
Yeah, so I still don't understand why it's like this.
The hole is not above the 40 saw line?
The hole wasn't full.
But I'm saying, but there was 40 saw in there when it was full, right?
If it was. I don't know what happened originally. I wasn't there, right? And as I came to the mikveh, and I see the hole is not covered.
And so there might not be 40 saw there, you mean?
I don't know. There's 40 saw, but it was not. Was it kosherized?
You mean it might have never been connected?
Do I know?
I'm trying to understand what the point is here. I just don't like seeing it.
Right. That's what the Rav was saying. Yeah.
It may never have been connected.
Maybe. And even if it was, it becomes unconnected. Once the hole is not full. And I don't know. Now, if you would have asked me, could you teifel a kli in that mikveh?
I didn't.
So
I would have.
How is it like Nasan Sav and Natalsa?
Because you have shuvim that went into the oitzer
Right.
and it came out. In other words, we had a transfer of waters. The oitzer started off with all rainwater.
And it was exactly 40 saw?
No, it's way more.
So what's the problem there?
Because how many times can you do it?
Call a Mayim Shavaolam. I don't know.
Call them, I love when people quote half Mishnayos. There it's speaking about that you continue filling it up. You meant to say you're memala the tachta from the Elyon. That's the Mishnah you meant to quote. But and on that, there are those who say that that's taka only talking about shuvim, and the Rambam seems to say that Mishnah is only talking about you can do it until robe. You can't do it more than that. Which is, that's a difficult pill to swallow, but that's what the Rambam does. All right. So we're gonna stop over here. I think we'll just stop over here. And Mitzvah next week we'll start with the next Mishnah.